Hi, I'm Becca with the Happy Ever Crafter, and in this video I'm going to show you a couple really simple floral doodles that you can add to your work and how to put them all together into different compositions. So this can really make a difference between just a plain old lettering piece and a full composition in your work, and it's really quite simple to add it. If you stick around to the end of the video, I've actually made you a free worksheet where you can try each of my different floral doodles and get used to doing them on your own. Let's jump in. For this video, I'm going to be using Rhodia blank paper. So this is a really high quality type of paper and it's nice and smooth for pens. And then to draw the florals, I'm going to be using the Tombow Mono drawing pen in size 0.3. I really like 0.3 and 0.1 for drawing these. And then I'm going to use a Tombow brush pen just to write the names of each type of flower, but that's not necessary. So the first type of flower I'm going to show you is what I call a rose. I'm not a flower person, but this is kind of how I demonstrate a rose when I'm doodling, and it's one of the main flowers that I tend to draw when I'm doing stuff on like wedding signage and stuff like that. So the first thing I'm going to do is just write the name. And so the way I draw this is really just a series of kind of squiggly circles. So I start in the middle and I just draw like an uneven kind of bean shape. And then I just gradually keep adding that sort of shape around the center. And the more uneven they all are and misshaped, the better I find the flower tends to look. If you're trying to make it too uniform, it won't look as doodly and nice. So just keep adding until you're happy with it, and I generally will try and make it like a fairly round circle shape, but again, you don't want it to be too perfect or else it'll look a little bit planned. So that's it for the basic rose. Next up, I'm going to show you how to do some leaves that go with that rose. So just write the name. So for leaves, it's pretty simple. All I do is draw this sort of S curve on one side, and then I do the exact same thing on the other side. And then I tend to draw a line down the middle, but I never put it right in the center because I want it to look more of like a rounded leaf. So I add it sort of more on one side than the other. And then I add these lines diagonally coming all the way down. And that line can go anywhere depending on how you want it to look. So if I did one that was more in the center, it would look a little bit different. Sometimes I'll draw some smaller ones as well. And usually with those, I don't do that much detail in them. I'll just put one single line in. So that shape is just really good to practice. So that's it for leaves. And then I'll draw some vines in a lot of the time. So I'll demonstrate that. So for these, I generally will just do one long swoosh of a line. You don't want it to have too many curves or else it'll look a little bit too busy. And then I'll do one leaf on the end, and then just add leaves as we come down. And so you want these to come out at the same spot. It'll look a little bit messy sometimes if you're doing them all at different areas. And I don't do it all the way down to the bottom. I usually leave a little bit here. And then there's other versions of that where you can do much longer, narrower leaves as well. Really depends what type of flowers you're trying to portray. But it can be really loose and really doodly depending on what you're going for. And then same thing with these. If you wanted to, you could add some lines down the middle, but that's totally up to you. I also sometimes will color in one side of them. I'm not going to do it for all of them because that'll take forever. But sometimes that can give it a fun look as well. So that's vines. Next up, I generally add some buds, so like some smaller versions of what this flower would look like when it's growing. So for those, I usually have them both coming off of one stem, and then I have like a little offshoot. And again, the more organic that looks, the better. And I'll just draw a shape like this and add in a couple little curves. So that's one bud, and then I'll draw kind of a smaller version of it off to the side. So that's the buds. And then lastly, I don't even know what to call this, but this is one of my favorite things to add to florals, and I just call it a fluffy thing. So that's what I'll write. And if anyone has a better suggestion of what these should be called, I'm all ears. Feel free to leave that in the comments. So I do this very similar with the stem for the buds, and then on the ends I just draw tiny little dots. And I just find that looks really, really cute with florals, even if it's not a realistic portrayal of a flower. It doesn't bother me. So those are my main elements usually for a flower, and now I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like when you put it all together. There are tons and tons of ways that you can make arrangements with that many florals, so you don't need to know a ton, but if you have a couple in your repertoire like these and just a couple different kinds of florals, you can use them in all different sorts of arrangements. So I've created a free worksheet that you can go and try and practice each of these, and I hope you enjoy it. I would love to see your progress, and if you enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe and leave me a comment below, and I'll see you next week.